Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, February 10th, 2020. And Ms. Clerk, if you'll go through this evening's agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, after the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll have open forum followed by an appointment with Deputy Chief Paul O'Brien to give an update on our new animal control officer, followed by 6 action items, town administrator report, and then we'll be going into executive session.
Thank you. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. With that, I'll go right into open forum. And is anyone here for open forum? Come on up. Thank you.
My usual. I just want to remind everybody that the presidential primary is Tuesday, March 3rd, and the last day to register to vote in order to be eligible to vote in that is this Wednesday, February 12th. My office will be open till 8 o'clock for in-person registration, or you can do it online up until midnight. If you just go to the town website, follow the links, and that will get you right there to register to vote. And also a reminder that our annual town election is coming up. That'll be Saturday, April 11th. Nomination papers are available now. The last day to obtain them is February 19th, and they need to be returned by February 21st. I just kind of wanted to run down what's on the ballot. We have town moderator, we have selectmen, assessor, school committee, 2 positions, housing authority, library trustees, 2 positions, Board of Health and Planning Board, we have 3 positions open. And last and not least, please return your census if you haven't already done so. We'd like to save postage on the second mailings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
No one else here for open forum. I'll close open forum. And we'll jump right into our appointment with Deputy Chief Paul O'Brien. Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
So we hired Alexi Xavier back in the middle of December. I can put my glasses on so I can read. So from December 15th through February 10th today, we've had 118 animal control calls. God bless you.
Bless you.
Goodness.
A little bit of highlights of her almost 2 months here. ACO Xavier has investigated 2 separate dog bites. She's quarantined 2 dogs. She's had to trap 5 cats from a house being renovated, and she had to bring them to Situate Animal Rescue, where Boston Animal Rescue League met her and picked up the cats. She worked very closely with Joe Stevens, Whitman Animal Control Officer, who's just been a great help to Alexi, where she's still new and doesn't have the ACO Academy yet. We followed up on multiple loose animal complaints. We looked into a report that some horses were unhealthy at somebody's property. Lexi went there, met with the homeowners, investigated the pens, the corrals, and everything checked out okay there, so we were good with that. Right before she started, we had approximately 250 unlicensed dogs. Lexi, working with the town clerk's office, has got that down to 6. She went out, knocked on all the doors, left paperwork for everybody, so we're down to 6, and that's a number we can work with. Lexi is starting the PI Academy tonight, so she couldn't be here. Selectman Darling, I'm sure you understand that.
Oh, yes.
First night there. And she is starting the ACO Academy next month, and that'll be one Friday, every Friday for 12 weeks, and then she'll be certified with that. She has to complete that within a year of her appointment. And that about wraps up her highlights. Do you have any questions?
Do you have an estimate, Chief, on how many calls during a 2-month period we had prior to Alexi coming on board?
We didn't get all those calls. We got some calls in our log, but most of them would go to the animal control number, so I couldn't give you a number on that.
And we didn't have any backup from the animal control on how many calls she was taking?
No, we didn't.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. I think it's great that you're tracking the calls this way now so that we can really see, just how.
Right. So
how
they're
many
all coming into
situations we
us.
have to deal with.
She's working down there with us. She does
Excellent.
ACO Monday and Tuesday. So she's 16 hours as ACO, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, she's the day dispatcher. So if there is an emergency during the week when she is dispatching, hopefully we can break her free. She can go and handle that during the dispatch duties, where during the day, we'll have 2 dispatchers on the desk once we take over fire dispatch.
Terrific.
Great. I think this is makes a lot more sense having the ACO directly under the police rather than, here at Town Hall. I think this will work out really well for the town going forward.
Well, they've done an excellent job of codifying the job and working it into the IMC system, and also establishing policies as part of the operating procedures of the police department. So this is really a very deliberate effort to make it a professional response, to track the results, as the deputy chief has announced, and to measure the effectiveness of the office.
Yeah, it's
Great.
great.
Great. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming in.
Chief.
And with that, we'll go right into our action items this evening.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 27th, 2020, 4 PM Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve but not release minutes of the January 27th, 2020, 5:15 Board of Selectmen's executive session meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the changes to the solid waste program, including the increase in of fees effective March 1st, 2020, from $300 to $400 a year.
Second.
Any further discussion?
John, do you have anything you want to add to your last year's?
Follow-up questions to the presentation I made 2 weeks ago.
I thought the presentation you made 2 weeks ago was very good, very thorough, and, I mean, nobody likes the idea of raising fees, but we can't run a program in a deficit, and it's not fair to have everybody subsidizing something that they're not using.
And our intention will be to put out a press release this week, but also to notify individual residents, that customer base. We're drafting up a document to be able to make them aware of the increase in the justification rationale behind that reason.
And,
I've talked to a number of residents about this, going from, the 300 to 400, and before they talked to me, they did call around. Regardless of how they may think this increase is, it is better than all the other,
Yeah.
companies in the area that offer this type of service, so.
I mean, we're still cheaper than the private haulers, and I think with the private haulers, their prices seem to go up. I know when I used one years ago before I switched to the town, I mean, sometimes those going up 2-3 times a year near the end there.
Yeah, it's the best alternative of a bad situation.
Yeah.
There's no great fix to it, and it's a cost that we all incur as a whole, or we all individually incur, but it's a cost.
And I think too, we don't force people to do it. Some towns, it's just part of your tax bill and you have no choice. People do have the option, to come up with their own alternatives if they don't want to do it. So at least there's that.
Good. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request of Lenore Christensen of the East Bridgewater Garden Club for the use of Town Hall parking lot in green for the purpose of EB Garden Club's major fundraiser. Funds support a high school scholarship in town beautification projects. Setup will be Friday, May 22nd, 2020. Date of the event is Saturday, May 23rd, 2020, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Rain date, if needed, would be Sunday, May 24th, 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think the idea of a plant sale sounds great right about now.
Yeah.
Ready.
Yeah, they've been doing this for years, and they always get a great turnout there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to appoint Jessica Parker, who happens to be in the building at the time, to the Recreation Commission effective February 10th, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
Second.
All right.
Yeah, I think Jessica wants to talk.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. You want to just tell us a little about yourself and your interest in the rec committee and?
Thank you guys for having me here tonight. As you said, I'm Jessica Packer. I'm a lifelong resident of East Bridgewater. I've been involved with the East Bridgewater Christmas Parade for over 10 years, and I miss being a part of the town and giving back, which is my main reason for wanting to join the Recreation Commission.
Great. I know, your father was involved all these years,
Yes.
so it's nice to see you continue down that path.
Yes,
Did a
It's
great
like
job
appropriate
this year,
legacy.
you
too.
did.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great job to continue that this past year.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I moved, make a motion to approve the 268A disclosure submitted by Deputy Chief Paul O'Brien, acknowledge receipt of proposal of mitigation. Mr. Noble, would you like to explain that, please?
discussion?
Certainly. 268A is a notification to the board, which is the appointing authority in the case of the police chief, that there is a potential of a conflict of interest or the perception of a conflict of interest. So he has filed the necessary paperwork to indicate to you that his son is an applicant for one of the vacant positions of a permanent intermittent police officer. So he's filed that notification with you, and the board needs to mitigate the process so that even the appearance of favoritism is removed. And before you, I've submitted the possibilities that you may use to adopt that would preclude him from participating in the background investigation or the interview process, particularly when his son is involved, and to change the recommendation of the hiring panel to go to me instead of to the acting chief, as he will be at that time. And all of that has been vetted by town council, and town council has pointed out that should he be hired, that we'll have additional issues to deal with, but let's cross that bridge when we drive off it.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in
That's the end of our action items, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Now for our town administrator report.
I have only one thing to report to you. We received notification from the governor's office that we have been approved for the MVP grant, some $15,000. That's effective immediately, and we've already started on that anyway. So in addition, this coming Friday, we'll have our kickoff meeting for the Complete Streets Initiative. So we are moving ahead quite nicely. I've also applied for a DLTA grant so that we can start prepping for our application to Green Communities, which would require a review of our zoning and building codes. So I'm hoping we can report some positive motion there in the future. We've been doing pretty good, so knock some wood here.
It's probably not wood.
That's my report for you this evening.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Noble, if you could just briefly just explain the MVP.
Yes,
and-
the MVP is the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant, which allows the town to study areas where we might be affected by climate change. So fortunately, in this particular case, we don't have a beach, so we don't have to worry about coastal erosion or things of that nature. But we do, as demonstrated Friday night by the wind velocity, we are vulnerable in certain regards. And most notably, right in front of me when I was sitting here, we've created a little bit of a cyclone with the wind here, and it took off roofing tiles right off the town hall. And we lost 3% of the power in town, and we lost numerous cable connections this last time. We lost a lot of trees. We lost power to the street lights and the signals at one key intersection. So we definitely have some vulnerability, and we are seeing a different kind of weather pattern, which has indicated that we really do have some issues that we want to identify and then propose solutions. So the first phase of the MVP is to identify where we're vulnerable. And then the second phase is to propose mitigation, which if it costs money, we could submit for a grant under the same program. So I'm really quite pleased that we got this kind of money to do this. And I think that we will identify some things that we might want to fix, which then will make us eligible for a second round of funding.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything for announcements, staff reports?
No, that's.
Anything for board discussion?
Oh, on an announcement, Senator Timilty will be holding office hours at Town Hall in the Conservation Commission Conference Room on the 25th of February from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for those who would like to speak to the senator.
Anything for board report? Anything?
Nope.
Just so you folks know, during or after the storm, I did get a few calls from Senator Timilty. Was in contact with National Grid trying to get updates, and we were in contact with the fire chief getting updates, and with Brian. So, it wasn't too bad. I think people that did get their power back ended up losing it later during a car accident up on 18, unfortunately. But I just want to thank the fire department and police department, DPW. I think they were going, pretty well through that evening, through that storm with the cleanup. So, and in another matter with Senator Timilty, we did push forward the recall provision for the second time, and he did say that it was in the second reading of a committee. So I'm sure we'll get an update on that in a couple more years, so just let people know.
We don't want to rush into it.
And on a personal note, I just want to thank you guys for changing the time of the meeting over the last few months. I don't know if everyone knows, I was actually in the police academy down in Plymouth since September. Getting yelled at and, doing,
So
a
just
lot
like
of
home.
training. Just like home.
Could have done that here for
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. So I have completed that training. I will be going to work in another town for an auxiliary department. And I just want to thank you guys for, changing the times here and there to accommodate that. Thank you.
We know you needed help, Bill, and we were there.
You guys want to see me back at work just as much as my wife
I'm
does.
sure.
I don't know about that.
And with that, we'll may I take a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, motion to go into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Paragraph 21A2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel, DPW Director. If an open meeting may be detrimental effect on the bargaining and litigation position of the public body, as the chair so declares, and not to return to open session. Roll call, David Sheedy, clerk.
And William Dowling, chairman.
Carol Julius, Vice Chairman.
With that, a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman, to executive session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.